There are 70 perks in Fallout 4, and in this video I am going to rank every single one of them from an S tier to a D tier on how useful they would be for any generic build type. Hi, I'm Mo and I'm trapped in Fallout. Let's begin by taking a look at all the strength perks. So all of these perks are ordered from basically the special tree in the order that the special attributes appear. So strength, perception, so on. So let's start with strength. And with that said, let's start with the first one, which is Iron Fist. So with Iron Fist, you do 20% more damage with punching attacks per rank. And there are a total of 5 ranks. And in later ranks, you will be able to cripple your opponent's limbs. And with the last rank, you will do critical attack in VATS with the chance of also paralyzing your opponent. So with that said, I would put this at a rank of B, and that is because there really aren't that many punching weapons around. Not as many as we would like to. We've got things like power fists and sort of weapons associated with that, but because of the rarity in the number of really good weapons for punching based attacks compared to others like melee or ballistic, chances are that a generic build wouldn't really benefit too much from having too many ranks in Iron Fist. Now, moving to the next one is Big Leagues. So this is similar to Iron Fist in the sense that this also increases the damage of weapons, this time melee weapons, by 20% per rank, up to a total of 5 ranks. With higher points in Big Leagues, you will be able to disarm your opponents, and with the last rank, you would be able to cripple or pretty much grand slam opponents with their head clean off. You also have, with one of the ranks, the ability to actually hit multiple opponents in front of you. So what I would do is also put this in B. Because actually, now that I think about it, it's probably an A rank tier. And that is because there are many more weapons, melee weapons, and with this you also have the chance to hit multiple enemies. And melee from a distance is a little bit better because you get a little bit more distance than sort of punching based attacks. You don't have to be as close, and because of that I think it probably is just ever so slightly better than a rank B. Not by a whole lot, but ever so slightly. Next, let's take a look at the next perk, which is Armorer. So Armorer is an easy S rank perk, and that is because you will have up to 4 ranks with Armorer perk, and each rank will unlock a level of armor modification. The reason it's S rank is simply because some of the best modifications for armor are unlocked via this perk, and chances are, no matter what build you're playing, unless you happen to be playing a build where you're going to wear literally no armor, chances are you will have some points in this, if not all points. So I would put this at a rank of S. Next, we are going to take a look at Blacksmith. So this has 3 ranks for unlocking melee weapon modifications, and I would just go ahead and put this at a rank of A, sort of in par with this perk over here. And that is because, again, as said, ranks in this perk will allow you to unlock weapon modifications for melee weapons. Next, we're going to take a look at Heavy Gunner. So this is similar to Big Leagues in the sense that it will do 20% more damage per rank in Heavy Gunner. With higher ranks, you will also improve the hip fire accuracy, and with the last rank, you'll be able to stagger your opponents. So I would put this at a rank of A also. Now, when it comes to heavy weapons, especially with this current next gen release, where we now have significantly more heavy weapons, especially some that even do explosive damage, any build would definitely benefit from having some ranks in the Heavy Gunner perk. And you also have the ability, with the right sort of perks and build, to potentially even stun lock your opponents into place and taking them out. And also this also benefits from other legendary effects you might have, such as sort of explosive. So I would go ahead and put this at a rank of A. Next, we have a Strong Back. So this is a really good perk. It's a really solid perk. What this will do is increase your carry weight in general, and later ranks will give you the ability to run whilst overcumbered using AP points. Whilst playing on normal mode, you will be able to fast travel with some points in the Strong Back perk. Whilst on survival mode, you won't be injured when you're overcumbered, And with last rank, you'll be able to actually use 50% less AP when running. So this is actually a very good multi-purpose perk for the reasons of carrying stuff. And chances are, whatever build you're playing, you probably do want to be advantaged by having a high carry weight. So because of that, I would go ahead and put that at a rank of S. Next, we're going to take a look at steady aim. So this perk will give you the ability to increase the accuracy of any gun you fire from your hip. So what that means is when you're sort of not looking down the barrel or looking down the scope of a weapon and just sort of randomly firing, this will increase the accuracy of said gun. If you happen to have the Nuka-Cola DLC, then the last rank of this perk will also increase the damage of said weapon that you're firing. So because of that reason, because you do need the DLC to unlock that last rank, and because the first rank simply improves the accuracy, which you may or may not benefit as much, because chances are you're more likely to look down the barrel of the scope, I'd actually put this at sort of the very end of rank B and the beginning of rank C. Had the standard perks maybe increased the damage, then I probably would have put it at the rank of B. Next, we're going to take a look at Basher. So this is an interesting perk in the sense that it will do 25% more damage when using the bashing mechanics of any given weapon. So when you're firing any given weapon, you have the ability to sort of go and physically attack with that weapon. This could also potentially cripple your opponent as well, and it also has a chance to perform a critical hit on an opponent. Now with that said, if you're using a ballistic weapon or a projectile based weapon, whether it's energy or ballistic, chances are you're going to be actually using it to fire things. You're not going to be using it to bash things. If you had to use any bashing mechanics, there's a higher probability you'll probably switch to a melee weapon because that will do significantly more damage and you'll benefit from perks abilities. So because of that, I'd actually put this at a rank of D. It's quite rare. I personally sort of put any ranks in this. I tend to put some points into this perk only after I sort of exhausted many other perks. So because of that reason, I'll go ahead and put that at a rank of D. And now let's take a look at the rooted perk. So this is an interesting perk. What this will do is give you 50 damage resistance, and it will allow you to do 50% more damage, and it will potentially cause enemies that attack you in melee to disarm themselves if you're standing still. So if you happen to be standing still, i.e. not moving at all, then your damage resistance goes up, which is nice. You do more damage, which is nice. And anything that's attacking you via melee has a chance to disarm. Now the thing is, even though this increases both your defense and offense, there's a higher probability, especially early in the game, that you won't just be standing still. You are more likely to be running around, especially if you play in survival mode. Yes, there are definitely times where you'd be standing still, like playing as a sniper, for instance, or just sort of shooting in space. But probability are that you'll actually be running around. So because of that reason, I'd actually go ahead and put it at a rank of B. I would have put it a little bit higher had maybe the levels been a little bit higher, but I'm not putting any lower also, simply because this does give you good benefits at the end of the day. So I think it's definitely a rank B perk. And the last perk in the strength tree is Pain Train. So this is also another pretty interesting one. What this will do is, whilst you're wearing power armor, if you sprint into any enemy, then you will actually end up hurting that enemy and potentially staggering them also. During the last rank of this perk, if you happen to do what I call a superhero landing, so this is where you sort of land next to an opponent from a greater height, then you will again stagger them and do impact damage. Now, I wouldn't rank this too high simply because there aren't that many, well, more folks tend to use non-power armor based builds versus power armor based builds. So if you happen to use power armor, then I would suggest it's definitely a NS rank tier, 100%. But if you happen to be playing more non-power armor, then it's actually a little bit further down. I'd actually put it almost at a C. Yes, it's a very strong perk by all means, but the probability are that you probably won't be using power armor that much, and the times you do will be very situational, such as going into any radiation-based zones. So that's why I put it at C. Now let's take a look at the perception perks. So starting with, we will look at Pickpocket. So Pickpocket is actually a really good utility style of perk. What this will do is per rank, you will increase your chances of picking someone's pocket by 25%. At rank 2, you will have the ability to place live grenades into your opponent's inventory, and after that you will be able to steal their equipped weapons followed by their equipped items. So this is actually a really good perk in the sense that you will be able to effectively disarm your opponent or even take them out with a surprise boom without them knowing. However, I would actually go ahead and put it at a rank of D, because by the time you put in any points into this perk, chances are you'd want to basically cut a long story short and just take the enemy out. There really isn't a lot of value in going around and picking pockets or trying to steal weapons from enemies when you can simply take them out and deal with them that way. That said, there are other benefits to having points in this perk. For example, there are times things that you do want to maybe pickpocket, like fusion cores, but even then, for the sake of taking fusion cores, this perk isn't really worth putting any points in too early in the game. Next, let's take a look at Rifleman. So this is an amazing perk. It will give you 20% more damage per rank with non-automatic rifles. It will also ignore your opponent's armor by up to 30%, and the last rank has a potential to cripple your opponent's legs when hit. So in Fallout 4, the bulk of the weapons are actually non-automatic rifles. And given that this weapon not only does an increased amount of damage per rank, but also ignores an opponent's armor, this actually makes it a really good potential damage dealer, especially when you start to combine this perk with other, say, perks that also boost in damage. Sneak-based perks, for instance. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of S. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is awareness. So with this perk, what you will do when you get it is every time you go into fast, you will now have some additional information above an enemy's head showing you their resistances, and at later ranks you will get actually an increased damage of 5%, but you will need the Nuka World DLC to be able to see that. So similar to these two over here, like pickpocket, chances are that when you aim at an enemy in VATS, you're not going to sort of sit there and autopsy and diagnose whether you should attack that enemy or not based on their resistances. Chances are you're just going to go and end up attacking them anyway. So because of that reason, I'm actually going to go ahead and put this at a rank of D. Again, it's not a bad perk, but you're more likely to just sort of, again, just deal with the situation and just take them out. And you're probably more focused on the equipment they have over their ability to negate the damage that you do. Next, we're going to take a look at Locksmith. So this is quite easily a really good perk to have. You definitely want some points in this. I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of A. So let me explain what this does. So with each point in this perk, you will have the ability to lockpick either advanced, expert, or master locks. And at the last rank, your lockpick will not break anymore. A lot of the game, a good chunk of it, is actually locked behind, no pun intended, behind locked doors. In order to access certain areas of the game, you need to be able to unlock locked doors. So you will inevitably have some ranks in this. The only reason it's not in S is because it doesn't really do any damage or anything. It's more of a utility thing, but this is definitely something that you need in order to sort of move forward in the game. Sometimes there are terminals that you can use to work your way around doors, but the reality is there are more locked doors in the game than there are terminals that you need to hack. The next perk we're going to take a look at is Demolition Expert. So this is another good perk. With each rank, you will do 25% more damage with explosives, and later on you'll be able to craft your own explosives at Chemistry Station. And later than that, so I think it's at rank 3, when you throw explosives like grenades or cocktails, you'll see a visible arc giving you an indication of where that thing's going to land. And later, you'll actually have the ability to shoot mines and grenades in VATS, and when done, they will actually do double damage. So let's just say you happen to go into an area and you happen to see some mines laying about. You can actually strategically shoot them, and they are more likely to take out enemies, basically making a really easy situation of a crowd control sort of event. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of A. Now, another thing to say is, especially with the new next-gen weapons, there are some heavy guns in there, which are also explosive as well. So this points in this perk will definitely help you benefit from those weapons. Next, we're going to take a look at night person. So this is another cool one to have. What this will do is give you 3 intelligence, so +3 intelligence and perception between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. When you're walking around at night and you happen to go into sneak mode, this will also give you night vision, and this will also give you, I think, 30 extra health during the same hours. So in short, this actually gives you some pretty good boost to your intelligence and perception, and you also get that night vision, which is definitely good, and the extra 30 health, which is again really good. And because of that, I'd actually go ahead and put it at a rank of B. I would have actually put it at a rank of A had the hours not been a thing, i.e. you always have those additional benefits, but because it's restricted to basically half of any given day, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of B instead. Next, let's take a look at refractor. So this is a really simple one. With each rank, up to a total of 5 ranks, you will have +10 to energy resistance. Now, again, this is a good perk. This will help you become a little bit more defensive. But the thing is, putting points into this, especially early in the game, isn't really worth it. Early in the game, you're significantly more likely to come across ballistic-based weapons, so like pipe pistols and your standard pistols and so on, and shotguns. And none of those weapons will benefit from this perk. You're actually more likely to start encountering energy-based weapons much later in the game. And the probability is, by the time you encounter energy-based weapons, you will actually have some pretty decent armor to defend you against such types of damage anyway. So because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it in C. Next, we have the sniper perk. So this is a really cool perk. What this will do is allow you to hold your breath when you're aiming using scopes, and non-automatic scoped weapons have a 15% chance to knock down your opponent. And I think in the last rank of the perk, you also gain 25% more accuracy to headshots in VATS. So this is a really good perk in the sense that this would allow you to basically pull off more hits, but it won't increase the damage of any headshots. It won't increase the damage you do as a result of taking this perk. So had this perk also maybe done some increased damage, I would have definitely put it at an A, probably even an S. But because it doesn't really help in the damage department, it really only helps you to stabilize your shots and become more accurate. I'm actually more tempted to put it in the C/B tier. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in the B tier. End of the day, it does help you to pull off more shots, which is always a good thing. And this compounded with some other perks definitely helps. But it doesn't do a significantly more any damage. In fact, it doesn't do any additional damage other than just pulling off successful hits. So because of that reason, it's probably a B rank. Next, we're going to look at Penetrator. So this is, again, another interesting perk to have. What this will do is, when you have any points in this perk, it will allow you to target opponents that are sort of hiding behind objects. So let's just say you happen to be firing at an enemy in VATS, and that enemy happens to be behind wall, which does happen quite often in the game, to be honest. What you will do is, instead of having a value of 0, you'll have a much lower chance, or rather, let me say that again. Instead of having a value of 0, had that enemy not been hiding behind a wall, maybe you might have had a chance of, let's just pretend, like 80%, 90%. Now, instead, if you have some points, that might be closer to, say, 20% or 30%. But that said, chances are, if you're using VATS, you are more likely to use your action points against enemies that actually give you a higher accuracy of landing a hit. You are not likely to start shooting at enemies through walls simply because you can. So because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of D. And the last perk in the perception tree is concentrated fire. So this is a really good perk, I think. With each rank, you will have a increase, or rather, once you get all the points, I think you have up to 20% increase in accuracy in VATS when targeting the same body part on an opponent, and you also end up doing 20% more damage to opponents when in VATS. So let me explain what that means. Basically, as you start to hit the same body part of an opponent, the accuracy will go up. So let's just pretend you're trying to shoot something in the head and the accuracy happens to be 10. If you target that same body part multiple times, then the next time you attack it, it might be 20, and the next time it might be higher, and so on and so on and so on. So the idea is that if you continue to target the same body part of an enemy, chances are you will end up taking it out. And because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put it in A. Now, for players that tend to use Vacilos, this is actually probably an S, because at the end of the day, this will help you to basically dish out more damage more quickly, but not every single build uses VATS, and because of that reason, again, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of A. Now, let's take a look at the endurance perks, starting with the first one, toughness. So toughness is, or rather has always been more or less an S tier perk across almost all Fallout games. What this will do is increase your damage by 10 for each rank up to a total of 5 ranks. So the moment you start the game, you really should put some points into toughness. This will basically make you much more defensive much more quickly. And since a good number of weapons in the game, especially early in the game, are all ballistic, you're definitely better off having some points in this. So this would get an S tier almost instantly. Next, we have Lead Belly. So this has always been a somewhat controversial perk in the sense that players definitely benefit from this when playing in survival. And the benefit of this perk is you, with full points, you will gain immunity from any radiation damage you take from either drinking water or eating food and so on. And the counter argument to this perk has always been, well, why don't you just eat stuff that doesn't cause radiation damage and therefore you don't need any points? Now, with the advent of cooking in Fallout games, in Fallout 4 especially, you can actually end up taking out stuff like rad roaches and wild dogs and so on. You can then visit a cooking station and you can just make the food. And there's plenty of good sources to get purified water. So there are really good sources of food out there in the Commonwealth. And as a result, if you sort of manage your food rations sensibly enough, you will almost never take any radiation damage. So because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of D. Next, we have a Life Giver. So this is a really nice perk to have. What this will do is give you plus 20 to your maximum health per rank, and there are 3 ranks, and the last rank will actually slowly regenerate your health. So there are some perks in this list that regenerate health or do something like that, but they're sort of tied to some specific condition. This one will just outright regenerate your health anytime, whether you're outside, inside, daytime, nighttime, and that extra health definitely helps, especially if you happen to be playing on a harder or survival difficulty. So because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put this at a rank of B. Next, we have Chem Resistant. So when you have points in this perk, what this will do is give you 50% less likelihood to get addicted to chems. And the last rank actually gives you 100% immunity. So what that means is if you have enough points in this perk, you will basically never get addicted to chems. Now this is a really good perk for that reason, as in if you happen to be taking a lot of chems, you basically get all the good stuff but none of the bad stuff. However, chances are you won't be using chems that much. Yep, you're definitely likely to use chems, but they'd be very in and far between the amount of times you use it. For instance, you won't be sort of how to put it, popping pills every time you go into a building. You're more likely to use it on very set occasional times. And because of that reason, you probably won't benefit too much from having too many points in this. Maybe at a later game, yes, why not? But early game, probably not as much. So because of that reason, I'd actually go ahead and put this at a rank of C. Next, we have Aqua Boy or Aqua Girl. So this is a really cool one. What this will do is, if you have any points, you will take 0 radiation damage from swimming, and you can also have the luxury of holding your breath underwater, and the last rank will make you totally undetectable whilst you're underwater. Now there is a neat trick associated with this perk as well. If you happen to be walking around and sometimes you do notice that there are puddles of water, so we're not talking bodies of water, we're talking puddles of water, where you step into that water and you take radiation damage. If you happen to have any perks or other points in this perk and you happen to walk into that puddle, you will also become undetectable to enemies around you as well. So this perk can actually be borderline abused. But that said, not taking any radiation damage and being able to hold your breath aren't really amazing things. Fallout isn't traditionally known to have a lot of watering bodies around it on the map anyway. But because of the fact that you can hide yourself relatively quite quickly if you happen to be in a really tight situation and there happens to be a small puddle of water, you can use that to your advantage. So because of that reason, I would have put it at a D, but I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of C instead. Next, we have Rad Resistance. So this will increase your radiation resistance by 10 up to 4 ranks. So is this really worth putting many points in? Sadly, I think the answer is no. You can easily get around this by basically just having a hazmat suit, wearing power armor, having some radaways on you, anything that combats radiation. There really isn't much value in putting any points into this, even in the late game. In the late game, if you happen to have any radiation damage, there are other perks here that sort of deal with that. But you can basically remedy this with just items, or better yet, you can even visit a doctor and have it remedied that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of D. Next, we have adamantium skeleton. So any ranks in this will help you to reduce your limb damage up to 60% initially, or to sort of midway through the perk. But by the last perk, or by the last rank in the perk, it will actually totally eliminate limb damage. Again, almost for the same reason as rad resistance, you can totally negate limb damage by taking a stim pack. So you would probably quite likely find a truckload of stim packs there. I mean, if you look down on the floor, your chances are you'll probably see one right next to your foot. You will find stim packs everywhere. And anytime you get limb damage, you can easily remedy it by just taking one of those. But at the end of the day, it does also eliminate damage to your limbs also. So because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of C. Next, let's take a look at cannibal. So this is a rather creepy one, in the sense that this will allow you to consume the flesh of humans, and then eventually ghouls, and then eventually after that, super mutants. And when doing so, you will heal up to 50 of your health, starting at 25 for the lower ranks. Basically, it will give you the ability to feast on your fallen enemies to restore some health. This is quite easily a D rank for me, simply because you don't need to resort to such actions to heal your health at all. Why? Because you have stim packs, you have food, you have various other sources to restore your health very easily, very quickly. So I would rather not put any points into this. And the other thing is, when you actually go into this feasting mode on fallen NPCs, you also sort of go into this animation, and that basically leaves you open to other enemies doing damage on you as well. So you can potentially sort of negate the effect of this anyway. That said, if you happen to be playing as a very specific build where this is sort of your only way of restoring health, then yeah, I'd probably put it at next rank. But because the chances are that the 97.5% will not be consuming any flesh, I'd go ahead and put it at the rank of D. Next, we have ghoulish. So this is a really cool one. What this will do is radiation will actually now start to regenerate your lost health, and some feral ghouls around you will suddenly become friendly, and the last rank will actually start to heal your radiation damage. So basically, as you're sort of walking around, if you happen to be in an area where you will most likely take radiation damage, like the glowing sea, or there's a radiation storm, then instead of actually taking damage, what you will end up doing instead is heal your HP, which is actually pretty cool. And like I said, some feral ghouls might randomly become friendly. So not all feral ghouls, but some feral ghouls. And the last rank will also even start to heal your radiation damage. Now the thing is, when it comes to sort of radiation damage, you're likely to see it in the glowing sea. Well, you will see it in the glowing sea and with this radiation stores, but there really aren't that many instances where you're going to most likely incur a lot of radiation damage. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of C. It's definitely good to have, helps in the passive style of game, but you won't benefit from this significantly. So again, I think it's a rank C. And now let's take a look at the last perk in this tree, which is solar powered. So this is actually similar to Night Person in the sense that this works in a clock manner. So this works from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And when you take it, it will increase your strength and your endurance by 2. And when you're out in sunlight, this will also heal your radiation damage and your lost health. So this is a cool one to have. So if you happen to be outside, then the sunlight will heal you. But if you happen to be inside, you still benefit from the strength and endurance bonus. So because of strength and endurance, you definitely get a bit of a health boost, a bit of a carry weight boost, and the ability to heal your health is definitely good as well. And because of that reason, I would put it at a rank of B. This obviously works very well with Life Giver, given that they both give you the ability to heal your health. So this could be a passive way, again, to heal your health quite nicely without having to use stim packs, which again gives a little bit cadence to not having any ranks in stuff like Ghoulish or Lead Belly, because you have means and ways of basically recovering both health and radiation damage. Now let's take a look at the charisma perks. So the first one is caps collector. This is a pretty simple one. What this will do is give you better prices at vendors when you're buying and selling, and later this will allow you to invest 500 of your own hard-earned caps with a vendor to basically allow them to be able to buy for more from you. In other words, increase the amount that they're able to spend on your goods. Now, this really isn't super useful. I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of D. And I'm going to put it at a rank of D because chances are, as you're playing the game, you're going to find lots of caps anyway. And you're also going to find lots of items that you probably won't want and you probably want to sell. This is basically a caps generator, so it's not really worth it. Now, as you find a lot of ammo, almost every ammo I can think of sell for a minimum of 1 cap anyway. And at the normal difficulty of the game, you can carry an unlimited amount of ammo. So the more ammo you find, you can basically convert that into caps anyway. You basically give your caps to the traders, or rather give your ammo to the trader that you don't want, and in return you buy whatever you want. So because of that reason, I'd put that at a rank of D. Next we have Lady Killer and Black Widow. So I happen to have them both here. They're both the same thing. What they will do is, if you happen to be playing as a male character, then you will have access to the Black Widow perk, and if you happen to be playing as a female character, then you will have access to the Lady Killer perk. And what this will do is allow you to do up to 15% more damage against the opposite gender, and it will also give you the ability to have unique, or rather, sorry, this will actually give you the ability to pass their speech checks a little bit more easily. So these are good perks in the sense that they basically allow you to do more damage. And again, in the game, unlike say Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, in Fallout 4 there seems to be a bit more of a balance. You do see a bit more balance between male and female characters, so they're both pretty similar to each other, I think. And because they do give you a nice damage boost, I'd actually go ahead and put them at a rank of C. Next we have Lone Wanderer. So this is an excellent perk. What this will do is allow you to take up to 30% less damage, and it allows you to increase your carry rate up to 100 as long as you're not traveling with a companion. And you can also do 25 more damage at the last rank with 25 more action points. So let's recap that one more time. When you're not traveling with a companion, you take 30% less damage, you can carry up to £100 more, you do 25% more damage, and you have 25% more action points. So this is easily an S rank. Now, the other thing about this, which I think many people know, is when it comes to companions, Dogmeat doesn't count as a companion in Fallout 4. So if you happen to have Dogmeat, this perk is still activated. If you happen to have another companion that is considered a companion, such as say Nick or favorite Preston, then the effects of this perk are lost until you sort of ask or dismiss your companion. But if you happen to have Dogmeat, this is still active. So because of that reason, this is easily an S rank perk. Next we have Attack Dog. So this is specifically for Dogmeat, and what this will do is give Dogmeat the ability to hold down opponents, to cause them to bleed. At the last rank, I think if I remember right, Dogmeat takes less damage as well, but you have to have the Nuka World DLC for that. Given that this perk is specifically for Dogmeat, if you happen to be traveling a lot with Dogmeat, if he is your go-to companion and you all use Dogmeat, then this is definitely sort of a high rank perk, potentially an A. If not an A, then a B. But given that you may not be, and I think the bulk of the builds probably won't be traveling with any companions, chances are when you have the affinity of a companion, you probably will want to travel with them. Companions do have disadvantages as well. Sometimes they give away a position, for example, or they sort of affect dialogue outcomes, or their likes and dislikes, and so on. Chances are you probably won't be traveling with Dogmeat also for sort of similar reasons. So because of that, I'd go ahead and put it at the rank of C. But if you happen to like Dogmeat, I would probably put it higher, like a rank of A. Next, we have Animal Friend. So this is a really cool perk. It definitely provides a really cool uniqueness to Fallout 4. What this will allow you to do is to pacify enemies such as dogs, mutant hounds, yogai, wolves that you find in Far Harbor, and sort of enemies of that nature, of that stature. So not every type of enemy, but some enemies. And at the first rank, you can basically pacify them, which is a nice way of basically saying that you stop them from attacking you. At later ranks, you'll be able to actually ask them to attack other nearby enemies. And at the last rank, you can basically get them to follow you and behave almost like a companion. So this is a really nice utility one to have. Now the thing is, when you come across such enemies as a dog or a mutant or Yogui and so on, unless if you really have your heart set on it, chances are you're not going to want to pacify them. Chances are you're just going to want to take them out right there and then and sort of deal with the problem right there and then. So because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of C. But if you happen to be playing as say a charisma-based character and you really want to play more of a passive build and you don't want to attack things, then this is definitely a higher rank. But chances are the bulk of players won't be playing as a passive build. They'll be more of a sort of shoot now and gain XP later sort of thinking. So because of that reason, I'll go ahead and put it at a rank of C. Now we have local leader. So this is a really good perk in the sense that this is actually quite unique when we think about it. Unlike other perks which affect combat or sort of dialogues or interactions and so on, this is very specific. This affects just settlement building. At the first rank, you'll be able to build supply lines between your settlements, and at the second rank, you'll be able to build workstations and workshops at your settlement. Basically, you can build shops. Because this doesn't really affect gameplay as much, this really affects settlements, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of C. It is a good perk to have, definitely, but it doesn't really help in terms of, say, dealing damage or anything like that. It is still good to have because you do benefit from it, especially if you sort of want to build like an ecosystem of settlements all talking to each other. Next, we have Party Girl and Party Boy. So this is another good perk, similar to the chems one that we were looking at earlier. What this will do is eventually it totally eliminate addiction to alcohol, and also when you drink alcohol, it will also double the effect of it, and it will increase your luck by 3 when under the influence of alcohol. So again, chances are you probably won't be drinking that much alcohol, similar to not taking too many chems. And again, because of that reason, very similar to chem, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of C. Next, we have inspirational. So this is a cool perk. What this will do is allow your companions to do more damage in combat, and your companions will also not be able to hurt you. At later ranks, your companions will take less damage in combat, and they also can't be harmed by you. And at the last rank, I think their carry rate also goes up by 25. So if you happen to be playing a lot with companions, this is definitely up there. But again, for the same reason as Dogmeat, I would actually put it at a rank of C. I would have put it at a rank of D, now that I think about it, because again, once you travel with a companion and you get their affinity perk, chances are you probably may not be wanting to travel with them, but there are a significant amount of companions. So early in the game, it's definitely worth having, especially if it helps your companions to sort of keep on their feet. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is Wasteland Whisperer. So this is actually the same as Animal Friend, but this just affects a different variety of monsters. Specifically, this affects feral ghouls, super mutants, Mirelurks, deathclaws, synths, and a couple of other more enemies of that nature. So this basically opens up option to more of the, let's just say, worrying enemies as opposed to Animal Friend, which is much more sort of low tier type enemies. But again, for the same reason, if you see an enemy, you're not going to sort of start to have a discussion with them. Although if you do find that lone deathclaw, you might. But again, you're more likely to just take things out and just make life a little bit easier for you from that point of view. So because of that reason, I'll go ahead and put this at a rank of C also. And the last perk in this tree is Intimidation. Again, it's actually exactly the same as Wasteland Whisperer, but this time it's for human NPCs. So this is sort of pacifying things like raiders or gunners and so on. So again, for the same reasons, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of C. Next, let's take a look at the intelligence perk tree, starting with the first one, Vans. So this is a somewhat nice perk to have. What this will do is it will show you a direct path to your next quest marker when you sort of press and hold onto the VATS button. And you also have access to a second rank in this perk, which will give you +2 perception if you have the Nuka World DLC. So this is quite easily a D rank perk. It's a D rank perk because you don't need to sort of press the VATS button to show your marker. That's what the compass is there for. Albeit, it definitely does help, especially when you're sort of indoors and there's multiple levels to a building or something like that. But even then, chances are you don't really want to do that anyway. You can just follow the compass. And in terms of rank 2, where you get +2 perception, this happens to be the first perk in the perception tree. Instead of putting in 2 points into this, you can put in 2 points into perception instead and get the same effect. So if you absolutely must, yes, you can put in the points and get that added feature of seeing where your target is, or you can just put in 2 points in perceptions and basically get the same thing and instead use the compass. So because of that, I put it at a rank of D. Next, we have Medic. So Medic is a really good and solid perk to have. What this will do is increase the amount of health or radiation damage you restore by taking either stim packs or right away. So you start off early with like 20%, but by the end of getting all the ranks in the perk, any stim pack will fully restore your HP, and any right away will fully remove any radiation damage you have. So this is a really good perk to have, especially if you happen to be playing on survival difficulty. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of A. Next, we have Gun Nut. So this is a really good perk. This will basically allow you to unlock crafting for weapons specifically. So this is like ballistic or energy or heavy type weapons. So this has a total of 4 ranks, where each rank will unlock that rank of Gun Nut. And you can then use those ranks to then go ahead and modify your weapon to have better mods on your weapon. So I would almost put this at a rank of S, because chances are everyone's going to put in some points into this. But at the same time, although this does definitely unlock weapon modifications, it doesn't really help in the damage or defense department. So because of that, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of A instead. Now we have Hacker, which is sort of the counterpart to the lockpicking perk. What this will do is, for each rank in this Hacker perk, you will be able to eventually hack Advanced, Expert, and Master terminals. And at the last rank, if I remember right, you won't get locked out of a terminal if you happen to mishack it. So this is definitely worthwhile having. Some points in this, again for the same reason as the lockpicking perk. I'll put it at a rank of A. A good portion of the game is hidden behind doors that you may not be able to lockpick, but you might be able to hack. And being able to hack definitely does help in that endeavor. So because of that, I'd put it at a rank of A. Now we have the Scrapper perk. So this is a really cool perk to have. What this will do is, anytime you scrap anything, you'll get some additional resources that you otherwise might not have gained. And that also includes rare things as well, like screws or nuclear material or fiber optics and so on. Now, again, chances are this is only really useful if you happen to be doing a lot of settlement stuff. And again, chances are that as you're playing the game, you're just going to have a number of resources in your inventory anyway. And again, if you're looking for a specific resource, chances are you probably end up going to vendors and buying them that way. So because of that reason, there's not a lot of big benefit to having points in this perk, so I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of D. Next, we have Science. So Science is a really good perk. What this will do is, it's basically like the opposite of Gun Nut, where Gun Nut unlocks mods for ballistic weapons. Science does the same thing, but it does it for energy-based weapons. It will allow you to craft modifications on energy-based weapons up to a rank of 4. So I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of A. Next, we have Chemist. So this is a solid perk. What this will do is, at first, increase the duration of your chems by 50%, and then 100%, and then up to 200%. So that means when you take chems, they will last twice as long. Now, we did say earlier on that you're not that likely to use chems, but you are, in the sense that when you do use it, it will help in that effect. With chem resistance, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, if you happen to be addicted, there are multiple ways to basically remove that addiction rather easily. You can just go to a doctor, for example, and just sort of get your addiction removed that way. But with this one, this affects you the moment you take that damage, and this has the potential to also do a lot of damage as well, or slow time, making basically gameplay a lot easier. And because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of A. Now we have Robotics Expert. So this is, when we think about it, actually very similar to Animal Friend and Wasteland Whisperer. What this will do is allow you to hack and shut down a robot. And once you've done that, it will then allow you to also basically pacify the robot, give it instructions, or almost get it to treat almost treat it like it's like one of your companions. So for the same reasons as Animal Friend and Wasteland Whisperer and Intimidation, I'd go ahead and put this at a rank of C also. Now we have a Nuclear Physicist. So this is a really cool perk. What this will do is it will allow you to do more damage, 50% more damage actually, with radiation-based weapons, and your fusion cores will last 25% longer. At higher ranks, your radiation weapons do more damage, I think twice as much, and your fusion cores will last, I think, up to 50% longer. And the last rank is actually pretty cool. You do need power armor to use it, but when you're using power armor, when your fusion core depletes to 0, you can eject it, and when you eject it, it basically acts as some kind of mini nuke. It's sort of like a grenade. It has enough damage and enough impact area to take out enemies around you, including damaging your companions, by the way. So given that this is actually a good weapon, or rather a good perk, sadly there aren't that many radiation weapons around for you to actually benefit from having this perk. There are some, definitely, but not that many around. And again, fusion cores definitely benefit if you happen to be using power armor. So I would actually put it at a rank of C. Again, I would have put it a little bit higher, but again, chances are not many people are going to be using power armor that many times, and it's really not that likely you'll be ejecting your fusion cores. When your fusion cores are almost depleted, you're more likely to sort of visit a vendor and sell it and get that cap, and basically use those caps to buy new fusion cores. So I'd put it at a rank of C. And the last rank in this perk tree is Nerd Rage. So this is actually a really cool perk. I'm going to go straight up and put it at a rank of A. When this activates, so this activates when you have below 20% health, but when this activates, you get 20% damage resistance. You also do 20% more damage. At rank 2, that is increased to 30% damage resistance, and you do 30% more damage. And at rank 4, that's increased to 40. In addition to that, if you happen to take out an enemy whilst in this mode, then you also restore your health. Something I neglected to mention is when your health drops below 20%, your game will actually go into slow time mode. So what that means is everything around you will slow down. Now this is really cool for two big reasons. Number one, it tells you that you've just gone into slow-mo mode. So what you can do is use that time to maybe run away or coordinate your attacks a little bit better or take chems. But it also gives you a really strong buff, both offensive and defensive. And because of that reason, it's A. I would have actually put this at 10S if the effect lasted a little bit longer, but it really isn't long enough for you to be able to pull off some cold stunts, but it is long enough for you to sort of do situational damage control in that moment in time. Next, let's take a look at the agility perks, starting with the first one, Gunslinger. So this will allow you to do 20% more damage per rank up to 5 ranks with non-automatic pistols. This also increases the range of non-automatic pistols, and when used, this might also potentially disarm your opponents, and the last rank will actually potentially cripple your opponent's limbs. So this is actually a cool perk. There are definitely a lot of good pistols around in the game, or one-handed weapons around in the game, that can definitely benefit from this. So I'd go ahead and put this at a rank of A. Next, we have the Commando perk. So what this will do is increase the amount of damage you do with automatic weapons by 20% per rank up to 5 ranks. At later ranks, what this will do is increase your hip fire accuracy, and at the last rank, it also has a chance to stagger your opponents, again when using automatic weapons. So there are again some really good automatic weapons in the game. In fact, many weapons that are non-automatic can be converted into an automatic weapon. So there are a number of weapons that definitely would benefit some points in this one. So I'll go ahead and put this at a rank of A. Next, we have Sneak. So Sneak has always been a staple perk across almost all the Fallout games. With the early ranks in Sneak, you will get a 10% increase in the ability to enemies detect you, i.e. it makes it harder for them to detect you, up to 10%. So with 5 ranks, that would go up to 50%. And later ranks will give you the ability to stop triggering floor-based traps like mines. At later ranks, you'll be able to actually run around whilst in sneak mode and not trigger anyone's sneak senses. And in the last rank, when you go into sneak mode, you'll sort of temporarily turn invisible, and that basically forces enemies at a distance to lose sight of you. So let's just say you happen to be in danger mode, but you're far away from the enemy. If you just go into sneak mode, you instantly go into caution. So this is actually a really good perk in the sense that it allows you to stay hidden and to avoid a lot of damage by proxy of avoiding mines. Now I would have put this at an S rank, but I'm not. I'm going to put it at almost the end of A and beginning of B. I'd actually go with A because end of the day, it does help you to stay hidden, which is really cool, but it doesn't allow you to do more damage. Had it maybe increased some damage potential in some way, that would have been quite nice. But because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of A. Now the next one, however, is a slightly different story. This is Mr. Sandman, and what this will do is gives you the option to instantly take out sleeping enemies. So if you happen to come across an enemy that happens to be snoozing away, you can sort of approach them and instant kill them. And this is like any level of enemy, whether it's like a feral ghoul or some raider, whatever it happens to be. Now the real benefit of this perk is that this also does an additional 15% all the way up to 50% more damage when using silenced weapons. So if you happen to be using a silenced weapon like a sniper rifle or even a pistol that's got a silencer attached to it, you'll actually end up doing significantly more damage. And because of that reason, this one definitely deserves a spot on the A rank, even potentially an S rank. If you happen to use a lot of silenced weapons, this is by far 100% an S rank. If you happen to be playing as a sneak style, again, this is an S rank. But we're going to assume that you probably aren't, but you still do benefit from having silenced weapons. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at an A rank. And this also compounds really well when paired with with a sneak perk. Next, we're going to take a look at Action Boy and Action Girl. So this is a really simple perk. What this will do is when you have ranks in it, it will allow you to regenerate your AP much faster, up to 25%. And I think by the last rank is 75%. But you will need the Far Harbor DLC for that 75%. Now again, if you happen to be using a lot of VATS, this is definitely something to have. It's almost an A rank actually, potentially even an S rank, because this will allow you to basically pull off more shots more quickly in quick succession. But that said, chances are people will not be using VATS every single time. Sometimes you just want to sort of, how should I say, deal with enemies quicker, and going to VATS does take longer. So because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at the rank of B instead. Now we have Moving Target. So this is a really interesting perk. Unlike the last time we looked at a perk that's based on our movement, which was Rooted. I can't remember where I put it there. It's in rank B. I'd actually put this in rank B also. What this will do is give you the same sort of resistances. So this will increase your damage and NG resistance by 25. And at later ranks, this goes up to 50 as long as you're sprinting. So if you happen to be sprinting, so running around, then you basically take less damage when you get hit. And at the last rank, you also use 50% fewer AP points when you're sprinting. So this is actually a really cool perk to have combined with the Rooted perk. So if you happen to have both, you basically, in a sense, get a bit of a defense increase as long as you're either standing still or running around. And this is sprinting running around, not normal running around. Next, we have the Ninja perk. Okay, so this is probably going to be a given, but I'm going to try and sell it anyway. With this perk, when you used ranged attacks, you do 2.5% more damage, and this goes all the way up to 3.5%. Now, 3.5% might not sound like a lot, but for sneak ranged damage, 3.5% is a significant amount of damage. With perks like Mr. Sandman, if you use a sneaked weapon, especially if you happen to have a silencer, you're going to do a crazy amount of damage anyway. And then you have perks like Rifleman and Lone Wanderer to boost the damage of that even more. And then you get something like this coming along, which boosts that damage even more. This is a really good perk to have. The other thing it does is it also increases the amount of sneak damage you do with melee weapons. So you start off with 4%, I think, and this goes all the way up to a crazy 10%. So if you happen to do, again, any sneak damage with melee weapons, you will do up to 10 times more damage with that weapon. So this easily parks this at an S rank. Now we have Quick Hands. So Quick Hands is a interesting one. What this will do is allow you to reload your guns a little bit faster. And if you happen to end up reloading your gun in VATS, you will basically not use any of your VATS points up for that. And the last rank, although you will need the Nuka DLC for this, gives you 10 additional AV points. So this is again a nice perk to have. It's sort of like a utility perk almost. It does help you to reload faster, but the reality is if you play the game long enough, you probably won't even notice the fact that your gun's reloaded that much quicker every single time. You will benefit from it for sure, which is why I'll probably consider putting it at a C rank. But the likelihood is, if you put any points into it, you probably won't appreciate the amount of time that is saved by having the reload animations be a little bit quicker. And that last point in getting 10 AP points, again, you do need the DLC for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it at a rank of D. And now we have Blitz. So Blitz is a really cool perk. What this will do is allow you to basically pull off melee attacks in VATS, but from an increased distance. So if you happen to use VATS in melee, you probably know, or if you don't, then you're going to know that you have to be virtually basically standing right next to an enemy when you use melee in VATS. If you happen to have any ranks in Blitz, then you can do that from a distance. And when you start to have a lot of, or rather when you start to have enough ranks, you'll be able to do it to the point where you basically almost end up teleporting from place to place. And the last rank is actually pretty cool. What this will do is the further you are, the more damage you also do. So let's just say you happen to be Sneak and you have this points in Ninja, and then you happen to be using Blitz. You will literally, in no sort of stretch of the imagination, end up teleporting from one enemy to another enemy as long as you can see the enemies in VATS. So because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of A. And the last perk in this tree is Gun Fu. So this is again another interesting one. Definitely very good for VATS-based players. What this will do is when you start to target multiple enemies, so this isn't targeting the same enemy multiple times. This is targeting multiple enemies. So target 1, target 2, target 3, and so on. This will do more damage from the second target onwards. So at rank 2, you will do 25% more damage to your second target and any one after that. At rank 3 is 50%. And at rank 4, the fourth target you hit, you automatically end up doing a critical hit on them. So if you happen to be using a lot of VATS and you happen to be targeting multiple enemies in the same VATS AP session or using the same action bar, from the second enemy onwards, you'll basically end up doing this basically significant more amount of damage. And because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at A. Even if you don't happen to be using a VATS build, the fact that you'll end up doing more damage is good. You can basically use this strategically as well. You can sort of on purpose aim your first 3 shots on, let's just say, normal standard enemies, and your last shot might be on like a boss level enemy, allowing you to do significantly more amount of damage. And lastly, but not least, let's take a look at all the perks in the luck tree. Starting with the first one, Fortune Finder. Okay, so straight off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of D. What this will do is allow you to find more bottle caps in containers. As discussed, you can sort of use things like ammo and other items in the Commonwealth to replenish or satisfy any cap needs. And there are definitely some weapons out there in vendors that are significantly quite costly, such as I think the Overseas Guardian comes to mind, or the vendor that in Diamond City that are sort of in thousands. But as you play the game, you're going to find your own variants of legendary weapons, and you won't end up using that many weapons from vendors anyway. And chances are that you won't really notice the benefit of this perk that much. So because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put it at a rank of D. Next, we have Scrounger. So this is a good perk. What this will do is at rank 1, you have a 40% chance of finding ammo. So just to make sure, sometimes the wording of this perk can be a bit confusing. This basically has a chance every time you look at any given container. This isn't where every container will either have it or not have it or might have it. It's more of a chance-based thing. So at rank 1, if you look inside a container, there might be a 40% chance that you'll find more ammo of the ammo you find in that container. So if the ammo happens to have, let's just say 10 rounds, instead of finding 10, you might find 12. At rank 2, that's increased by a little bit, but I think by the last rank, rank 3, it's a 100% chance. So if you happen to have all 3 ranks, then anytime you open a container, the amount of ammo you find is basically an increased amount that you found. Otherwise, it would have been a less amount. Now again, this is good to have, but you probably end up buying most of your ammos. Now, I would have put it at a higher rank because this is definitely worth having for ammos that are more rarer that you can't always find in vendors, or sometimes they sort of the cost isn't justified. But I would put it at a rank of B, because this is definitely worth having, and over time you'll definitely end up collecting significantly more amount of ammo. Next we have Bloody Mess. So this is quite easily an A rank perk. What this will do is increase the damage you do across all weapons by up to 15% by rank 3 of getting this perk. So this is a high rank perk because you will actually end up doing more damage with every weapon. So whereas with, say, ranks in like Heavy Gunner or Demolition Expert, where they affect only a very specific type, this affects all weapons. So it's definitely worth having some perks in this. The other thing it does is it randomly can cause an enemy to explode when you actually hit them. And following on from that, the last rank of this perk can also give you the ability to also explode nearby enemies. So let's just say you happen to attack an enemy and that enemy explodes. This might also cause nearby enemies to explode also. The next perk we're going to take a look at is the Mysterious Stranger. So this is a really good perk to have. What this will do is when using VATS, there is a small chance initially for the Mysterious Stranger to appear in VATS, and the Mysterious Stranger will basically help you in trying to take out the enemies. At higher ranks, the Stranger has a higher likelihood of appearing, and they also have a chance to fill your critical meter. And at the last rank, the chance to fill the critical meter is even higher, but you do need the Nuka World DLC for that rank in the perk. Again, it's nice to have, especially if you use VATS. It's definitely worthwhile having some ability to do extra damage. Also, very good if you happen to be targeting multiple enemies in the same VATS action. But again, it's probably not as useful as it could have been, because the likelihood, when you think about it, there's a likelihood of the Stranger appearing, and then there's another probability of likelihood of you filling the critical meter. So because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of B. But my god, when he does appear, he does a lot of help. Okay, the next one is Idiot Savant. So this is easily a really solid perk. Your very first point, as long as you have a low intelligence, should easily go into Idiot Savant, 100%. This is the next rank perk. And it's an S rank perk because at rank 1, you basically gain 3 times more XP every time you do anything that gives you any level of XP. So let's just say you happen to have, I don't know, you unlocked a door and you got 10 XP. You'd instead get 30. Now, the good thing is that this activates actually very often. If you happen to have seen one of my sort of glitch videos where I'm basically building a lot of statues or placing things, this activates very, very often. At rank 2, you go up to 5%, and at rank 3, you actually have what's called a small luck window, where every kill in that luck window gives you 3 times more XP. Personally, I never take the 3rd rank. I always find that the rank 2 is sufficient, and rank 3 to me feels more like a waste. It feels like a waste because when I activate that last rank, activate that window, I don't end up getting the kills that I need to get. I'm more happy to get just random XPs as I sort of do play through the whole game, whether that's opening door or describing a new location, so on. But this perk will definitely help you to level up quite quicker, and it's definitely something that any build can benefit from. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is Better Criticals. So with ranks in this perk, you will end up doing 0.5% more damage, I think, but by the last rank, you'll end up doing 2.5 more damage for your critical hits. So anytime you land a critical hit, which is predominantly via VATS, you'll actually end up doing significantly more amount of damage. Now, if you compare this, or rather combine this with things like Bloody Mess or other perks that we'll talk in a moment, then this will actually have the potential to do a lot more damage. Like we're talking like a crazy amount of damage. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at a rank of else also. Now we have Critical Banker. So this is actually a cool perk. When you use VATS, you have the ability to basically save the number of critical hits you want to perform. So without any points, you're able to perform a critical hit. But if you have ranks in this perk, you're able to save, I think, up to 4 critical hits. So let's just say you save all 4 critical hits and you decide to take them all out on a single enemy. Let's just say Swan, for example, who is sort of found in the center of the Commonwealth, rather, or Boston. There's a good chance you'll probably end up taking him out with 4 critical hits. And it also allows you to save and use them more strategically. That said, again, VATS isn't highly used, so if you don't use VATS, you're probably not going to bank on the critical hits as often. So I would actually put it almost at the end of A, beginning of B. So I'd go ahead and put it at the rank of B. Next, we have Grim Reaper's Sprint. So this is a cool perk. What this will do is, if you take out enemies in VATS, at rank 1, you will have a 15% chance to restore all your AP points. And by the last rank, you will have up to 35%. So what that means is every time you end up doing a hit on an enemy, so this isn't taking out an enemy, but this is just hitting the enemy, there's a small chance you'll actually recover your AP points. Now, again, that sounds really good when you think about it, but the reality is this isn't a 100 based perk. This is more of a, the probability of this happening is actually significantly quite low. Now, if you happen to use a weapon like the Deliverer that actually does do a lot of damage and it has low AP cost, this is actually really good having. This is probably almost like a rank A sort of thing. But chances are you probably will be using more of a heavier weapon like a shotgun or a combat shotgun or something, or a rifle, and they really eat up on AP points. So by the time this would have activated, chances are you would have depleted all your AP points anyway, and because of that reason, I'd go ahead and put it at the rank of B. Next, we have 4-leaf clover. So this is another cool perk. With each hit in VATS, there is a chance to fill your critical meter now. So whereas the other one has a chance to, Grim Reaper Sprint has a chance to fill your AP, this has a chance to instead fill your critical meter. So that's pretty good because you probably want to be saving up on your critical hits anyway. But again, for the same reasons described above, you probably won't have that many VATS actions. So I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of B, pairing it with the Grim Reaper Sprint also. And our final perk is Ricochet. Now this is actually quite an interesting perk also. What this will do is, if you have any ranks in this perk, anytime you get attacked by an opponent, there's a small chance, like a teeny tiny chance, that that bullet might actually end up bouncing off you and hitting the enemy instead, resulting in an instant kill. And at last rank, when this happens, this also has the chance to fill your critical meter. So basically what this means is enemies around you might randomly start just sort of dropping because they have attacked you. You're none the wiser that something's trying to attack you. The bullet will basically bounce off. Sadly, there's no visual cue. You won't actually see it bounce, but it will bounce off and end up taking out the enemy instead. Now, this is nice to have, and it's really good if you happen to be more of a commando style where you'll have a lot of eyes on you. And because of that reason, it's always nice. I would put it at a rank of B. But the other thing is, it takes up to 10 luck points to unlock this perk. So because of that, I think I'd go ahead and put it at a rank of C instead. In this video, I went through all 70 perks in Fallout 4 and ranked them based on how useful I think they will be to the standard generic build in Fallout 4. Now that you have a solid understanding of each perk, why not click on the video you see on the screen now, and I will now rank all the companion perks in Fallout 4 from worst to best. So I'm going to start by talking about what I think is the worst companion perk, going down all the way to what I think is the best companion perk that every Fallout 4 player should have. If you want to find out more about these companion perks, then click on the video you see on the screen now.